Hello, in this video we're looking at issue 34 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine, expanding our terrain collection with Norway ruins, and then our battle sees the return of the Space Marine Captain. Hello, I'm Will, this is Mike, we're the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And in this video we're bringing you issue 34 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. This issue came with the second set of ruined buildings, to go with the other ones we received a few issues ago. You can see them in our game if you want to skip ahead, using the chapter bars or the timecode in the description, but we'll have a look through the issue first. First up, we've got some background on the Legio Cybernetica, more of the forces of the Adeptus Mechanicus, made up of ancient battle robots, predominantly the Castellan robot that you can see in that picture. While these were once numerous in the forces of the Imperium, their numbers have since dwindled as their ability to construct them has been lost. They carry powerful weaponry, and they're almost impervious to damage. Over the page is a bit about the Cybernetica Datasmiths, who are specialist tech priests responsible for the maintenance and direction of these. Because artificial intelligence is bad, they are instead controlled by the use of data wafers, which are inserted into them to set them doing whatever needs to be done. And there's also actually a little bit about the Dark Mechanicum, which is the portion of what was originally the Mechanicum that sided with the traitors during the Horus Heresy and still exists to this day. But the Adeptus Mechanicus having a special hatred for them being heretics and traitors. Then we have something on the Imperial Fists chapter of Space Marines, another one of the original Space Marine legions, originally led by the Primarch Rogel Dawn. They were tasked with defending Holy Terror itself during the Horus Heresy. They're particularly stubborn, especially in defence, and generally refuse to yield, even in the face of overwhelming odds. They're masters of siegecraft, as it says on the next page. There's also a little bit about the Phalanx, which is their spaceborne fortress, which serves as their fortress monastery, which was once commanded by Rogel Dawn himself. And that's all the lore we have for this issue. We've got the build guide for the new manufactorum. It's a different construction to the previous one, but it's still a very similar process putting it together. It does suggest you use glue, even though it doesn't require it, to make it more robust. And the painting guide for it is essentially identical to the previous one. The same details are painted the same colours, it's just obviously a slightly different design. So starting off with a base coat of Corax White, then using Mephiston Red for various sections like the door and windows, then an all-over wash of Nuln Oil to shade it, and then painting the Mechanicus symbol and dry brushing all of the non-metallic colours with Corax White for a highlight, and then painting in the metal sections with Lead Belcher and a bit of Corn Red for some details. And that's what it looks like there, so it now matches the other ruin we have. But that's all for the contents of this issue, so now we'll head over to look at some new rules and get into our game.
Before we can get into our game, as usual, we have more rules to look at. So we have a updated datasheet for the Primaris Captain. I think the only new thing here is that he has an aura called Rights of Battle, which is while he's within 6 inches of a friendly Space Marine core unit, they can reroll hit rolls of 1 when making an attack. So it's a counterpart to the Lieutenant's reroll 1s to wound. Then on the next page there's some tips on getting the most out of auras, using the terrain to your advantage to keep your characters safe, and then also making use of all your available movements, so heroic interventions, charge moves, and piling and then consolidating. You can see here, even though the captain's miles away from those assault intercessors, he's able to get in his range by charging. And then we have more core rules. I'm just going to skim over all these. First up we have rules for transports. Fortunately we don't actually get any transports with the collection, but it is useful to have these rules, so if you do get a transport you can make use of them. And there's just rules of how units embark and disembark, and what happens if a unit is inside a transport when it's destroyed. We also have rules for aircraft, and once again we don't get any with the collection, so I'll just skim over it. And usually most aircraft have to make a minimum move. Not all of them, some of them can effectively hover. There are different rules for things like engagement range and piling in and so on, so there's some unique quirks to using aircraft. And then core rules for the psychic phase, and this is basically just summarising everything we've seen so far. We've got the entry there for Smite, and how manifesting psychic powers works, and then things like Deny the Witch and Perils of the Warp. Now for the backstory for today's mission. So the Necrons have taken over large portions of Tsiphos' surface, and the Imperium has detected some Necron construction in some of the outskirts of the moon. Some sort of network of towers and monoliths made out of black stone, and a small force of Space Marines is going to breach the Necron lines and just try and sow destruction and chaos. And obviously the Necrons are going to try and put a stop to that. And we get into the next mission, the Scout Mission Pack, Sabotage. The Space Marine Strike Force has encountered a force of Necrons while trying to sabotage the construction. So for the Necrons we have the Overlord, 10 Necron Warriors and 5 Immortals, while for the Space Marines we have the Primaris Captain and 2 units of 5 Assault Intercessors. And for our battlefield layout you can see the map from issue 18, where we have the new manufactorum in the centre and then 2 containers either side, and it will probably scatter the other crates and things around as well. And there's 3 objectives along a sort of diagonal, and we also have a sort of right angled triangle deployment, so you have the whole of the short edge and then it goes along the long edge to halfway. For our objectives, we have a progressive objection to capture the objectives. So at the end of each player's turn, the player whose turn it is scores a victory point for each objective they control, and then if you control more than the opponent, you get an additional victory point. And the game will last for 5 battle rounds. Whoever has the most victory points at the end is victorious. The Space Marines deploy a unit first, and we alternate, so we'll come back once we finish deployment. So here we are on the battlefield, our new ruin there in the centre and the 2 manufactorum containers either side. We've scattered some crates and barrels around just to make it a bit more interesting. You can see the 3 objectives there down the diagonal with 2 in the centre of the battlefield. Go over my deployment first. I have 1 squad of Assault Intercessors hiding behind the manufactorum container, the other one taking cover behind some crates with the captain behind. And then the Necron deployment.
I've got the Necron Warriors out in the middle, and then the Necron Overlord and the Immortals behind the other container near Objective 1.
And we'll be rolling off to see who gets to pick who goes first. And the Necrons win the roll off.
And I think we will go first.
So we head into Necrons turn 1.
In the command phase, I put my will be done on the Immortals. We'll see where they got to in a moment. But down at the bottom of the board, the Necron Warriors, they moved up normally. They're all within range and line of sight of one of the Assault Intercessors at the top of the board, behind the crates. The Overlord moved into the centre. He's within 3 inches of Objective 2 in the middle. And the Immortals moved around the box they were hiding behind, taking control of Objective 1, and they're obviously now within line of sight of things.
And then we're on to the shooting phase.
And we'll start with the Immortals shooting at the Assault Intercessors behind the black boxes. 10 shots, because they're all just about within rapid fire range, hitting on 2s, because my will be done. That helped, so it was 10 hits. Wounding on 3s, 8 wounds.
So that's 8 4+ saves, because we've all got cover. I made 3, so that's 5 wounds, 2 dead Assault Intercessors and 1 wounded. So I've taken away the 2 Assault Intercessors that were on this side of the squad, and then put a wound on the one at the back, because that reduces the number of Necron Warriors that are actually in range and can see anyone to shoot at.
Yep, but then the Necron Warriors are going to shoot at them. So after checking range and line of sight, 6 can see and are in range. So we've got 12 shots hitting on 3s. 9 hits. Wounding on 3s, because these are the Gauss Reaper Necrons. 8 wounds again.
8 4+ saves. Failed 4, so Sarge is down to a wound. So the 2 remaining regular guys will die, leaving the Sergeant alive on 1 wound. That's all shooting, no charges presumably.
No.
So Sarge there has to make a morale test in the morale phase. He's leadership 8, he's lost 4 friends, so on a 5 or a 6 he runs away. No, he's fine. And that's the end of the Necron turn, where they hold Objective 1 and 2, so they score 3 victory points, 1 each for both objectives, and 1 more for having more objectives than I have. So the Necrons 3 victory points ahead at the end of their first turn. We head into Space Marines turn 1. So in my movement, the full strength squad of Assault Intercessors has moved around the box, so they're near Objective 3, and then Sarge and the Captain have come down to link up with them. We're probably going to abandon Objective 1 at the top and try and take out this big squad of Necron Warriors, because we need to reduce the Necron numbers. So I'll start with the lone Sergeant. He's going to throw a frag grenade at the Necron Warriors. So D6 shots, minimum 3 because of the blast rule. Oh well, so that's 3 at least. Hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s because of the Captain. Oh, I don't even need the Captain, that's 3 hits. Wounding on 5s. Oh, you got a wound.
Put the hit on someone not in the cover, so 4+ armor save, which I made.
Then the other squad of Assault Intercessors will go. Sarge in front there will throw a frag grenade, and then the other 4 will fire their bolt pistols at the Necron Warriors. So I do the frag grenade first. D6 shots, well 2 goes up to 3 because of the blast rule. Hitting on 3s, rolling 1s. You roll that 1 into a miss. 1 hit, wound on a 5. It wounded at least.
4+ save. Failed that time.
That's 1 dead warrior so far. 4 bolt pistols, hitting on 3s, rolling 1s. They will hit. And then wounding on 4s. Blimey, 4 wounds.
Also going to be on people outside cover, 5 pluses. Oh, 4 dead.
That's 5 dead warriors.
So I've taken away the 5 closest to that big squad of Assault Intercessors, but then we get to see if any of them reanimate. Looking for 5s, re-rolling 1s. got 1 1-3 roll and 1 success so far. 2 successes. And the 2 reanimate inside the ruin.
Yeah, that's these 2 here.
Yeah, I want to make sure I'm as far away from the big squad as possible.
In the charge phase, it's going to start with this squad, since they have the furthest to go, and they're going to charge the warriors only. And there's no set to defend, because some of the warriors are still outside the manufactorum. Form a squad of assault intercessors charging. Get a 7, that's definitely enough to get them in. So the intercessor squad charges in like that. Then I'll go to the middle, where Lone Sarge is going to charge the warriors as well. Anything that's not dreadfully low, a 5 is enough. So Sarge gets in like that, and then the captain's also going to charge the warriors, and I've left a gap there. I think we'll say he needs a 5 to seal the deal. 6 is enough. So the captain can slot into that gap in the corner, and everyone in there is up 3 inches away from the overlord, so he can't directly intervene through the wall. And we'll go to the fight phase, and I'll start with the assault intercessor squad to go first. So these assault intercessors are piled in. These 2 at the back are within 3 inches just of the objective, but they can still fight because they're within half an inch of this guy, who's within half an inch of that warrior there. So we've got 16 attacks from the assault intercessors, hitting on 3s and re-rolling 1s because of the cap. Re-roll those 2 1s, getting 2 more hits, that's 13 hits. Wounding on 4s. That's 6.
6, 5 plus saves. Made 2, 4 die. I'm going to take away those 3 outside. And that one. And then do they come back? 5 re-rolling 1s, 1 comes back.
And then I think this sergeant will just consolidate in. And I will pick the captain to go next. So he's got 5 attacks hitting on 2s, 4 hits, no re-rolling 1s because he's not a core unit. Wounding on 3s, getting 2, it's 2 dead Necrons.
Do they come back? A 1's re-roll into a success. So down to 3 Necrons.
Yeah, captain's not going to consolidate. Sarge will have to pile in a smidge, like that. 4 attacks hitting on 3s, rolling 1s, 3 hits, wounding on 4s, 2 wounds.
5 plus saves. Fail both. 1 left. Do the dead ones come back? Oh, they do. But they will reanimate away from the big squad of assault intercessors who are now therefore no longer engaged in melee.
Yeah, but the Sarge will consolidate so that he keeps them engaged. And then the Necron warriors get to strike back.
They're all attacking the lone wounded sergeant, hitting on 3s. They all hit, wounding on 4s. 2 wounds.
2, 3 plus saves. Made both. And then in the morale phase, those warriors have to take a morale test, having lost 7 of their friends.
Leadership 10, so on a 4, 5 or 6. 1 more run away. Oh, 6. So 1 runs away, and then combat attrition for the other 2. Running away on 1s or 2s because we're below half strength. Another 1 runs away, so there's 1 left. The 2 ran away who were in an inch of Sarge, so the 1 left is not actually in engagement range anymore.
And that'll be it for the turn. And I hold objective 2 and 3 now. This sergeant here is just within 3 of that objective, so it's 3 of mine to 2 Necrons. So I get 3 victory points, 1 each for both objectives, and 1 for having more than the Necrons. So at the end of battle round 1, it's 3 victory points apiece, as we head into Necrons turn 2.
In my command phase, we'll start off with Resurrection Orb, obviously on that lone Necron warrior. 9 warriors are missing, so they come back on 5s, re-rolling 1s. We've got 1 success so far, but 4 1s to re-roll. And re-rolls. Get me another 1. 2 warriors come back. And I'll put my will be done on the Immortals, who are within 9 inches, so that's a viable target, and then on to movement. And for movement in the building, the 3 Necron warriors have just retreated into the corner slightly, and the Overlord has come through the wall to face off the Space Marines. Whereas the Immortals have moved out. 4 of them can see the large squad of assault intercessors. 1 of them you can sort of see is just here behind the box, but is within 3 inches of the objective.
So on to the shooting phase.
Start shooting with the Immortals. 4 of them that can see are going to shoot the large squad of assault intercessors. 8 shots hitting on 2s, because my will be done. 2 misses still. Wounding on 3s. 3 wounds.
3 5 plus saves, because we don't have cover. Fail all of them, so that's a dead assault intercessor and 1 wounded. Now I'll take away this guy, because he's probably the least important. And then put a wound on this chap here.
And then the 3 warriors are going to shoot at the wounded sergeant. 6 shots hitting on 3s. 4. Wounding on 3s. 2 wounds.
2 4 plus saves, because he is in cover. He lives!
And that brings us to the charge phase. The Overlord's going to charge the 4-man squad of assault intercessors only. Only needed 2, but some more inches would be nice. Well, he gets a 2. Well, with that, the best he can actually do is move to there, which means he is within heroic intervention range of the captain. But he's more than an inch away from Sarge, and that's all my charges.
Yeah, so I think the captain can heroically intervene, and I'm going to take the risk. And I think he can just about fit, so he's just about an inch away.
And because he heroically intervened, the captain is a viable target, and I think I will attack him because I was hoping to go and take Objective 3, but since I can't do that, I think we'll just have to live with standing around here and hoping to reduce the models on Objective 2. 4 attacks hitting on 3s, because he might want to hit with his own weapon. Only hits twice. Wounding on 2s. Oh, only once, so you can't kill him.
4+ invulnerable save. Oh, which I made.
And I won't consolidate, I didn't really see the need.
So that means the captain gets to strike back though. 5 attacks from the captain hitting on 2s. They all hit. Wounding on 4s. Strength 5. Ooh, 4 wounds.
4 plus invulnerable saves. Failed 2, so he takes 4 wounds, down to 1.
So with some piling in, these 3 assault intercessors are all going to jam themselves against the wall of the ruin, so they can all fight the Overlord, and also get some in range of Objective 2. So we have 10 attacks, hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s because of the captain. Reroll those 1s into 2 hits. Wounding on 5s because he's a beefy boy. 2 wounds.
2 4+ saves, got to make both to live. Oh, failed both.
And the Overlord is killed. So the assault intercessors get to consolidate, having to go towards the Necrons, so I'm just going to move such that I definitely take the objective in the middle. And then that's the end of the Necrons' turn. They still hold Objective 1, so they get a victory point, go up to 4. And we'll head into Space Marines' turn 2. In my movement, Wounded Sergeant's going to evacuate the building so he can get towards Objective 3. Captain's going to stay in the building and take care of those Necron warriors. And then the other squad of assault intercessors has moved through the building effectively to around this container so we can go and contest Objective 1. In the shooting phase, I only have the 2 guys with plasma pistols to go first, so I'll do the Sergeant, not overcharging. Shooting at the Necron warriors, 1 shot hitting on a 3, rolling 1s. He hits. Wounds on a 3. It does.
6+ save because we are in cover. Oh, I made it.
Yeah. And I'll do the Captain as well, also not overcharging. Hitting on a 2, he missed. No shooting from the Assault Intercessor squad, because they can't actually see any of the Immortals. So we'll be on to the charge phase. I'll do the Assault Intercessors first, because they're the important ones. Probably anything but a very low number. 7's going to be enough. They'll go around the box like that. And finally the Captain's going to go, and I'm not going to bother rolling it, because a 2's definitely going to be enough.
Although the Necron warriors will set to defend.
I'll do the Captain first, because if he kills those 3 warriors, he can consolidate towards the Immortals and possibly bring his aura in range of the other Assault Intercessors. 5 attacks hitting on 2s, they all hit. And wounding on 3s. That's 3 wounds, 3 dead Necrons. So now the Captain can consolidate through the door, easily bring him in aura range of the Assault Intercessors who will go next. So the Assault Intercessors will pile in around that poor Immortal on the end who got left behind to hold the objective. 13 attacks, hitting on 3s, rolling 1s because the Captain's nearby. And the 2 1s, ooh, get 2 more hits, that's 11 hits. Wounding on 5s because the Immortals are toughness 5. Well, that's still 3 wounds.
3 4+ saves, and failed 2. I'll take away those ones and then I'll see if they come back. 5s, 1 does. And there one more animate over here, which does mean it's actually 2 models each on the objective now.
And they still get to fight back though.
The one who wasn't in base contact will consolidate 3 inches and then they'll attack. 8 attacks hitting on 2s, because even though the Overlord is dead, my will be done runs until the end of start of my next command phase. So they all hit. Wounding on 4s, that's 4. 5 wounds.
5 3+ saves. Failed 2, so wounded man dies and another guy takes a wound. So the wounded assault intercessor dies. Put the wound on this guy. But importantly, that does mean the Necrons will retain hold of Objective 1, because I only have 1 model on it now. But that's the end of Space Marine's turn 2. I hold 2 objectives, which is more than the Necrons, so I get 3 victory points and go up to 6.
And at that point I will concede because I have 1 unit left, so I can gain a maximum of 1 victory point per turn. I'm already 2 behind, and all the Immortals can actually do in their turn really is fall back or stay in melee, and then either will be charged or attacked or whatever, so they're not going to be able to escape that predicament anyway.
So we'll call that a Space Marine victory, and we'll recap that game for you now. So that was a game for issue 34 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. How do you think that went?
Perhaps not as well as it looked like it was going to go after the first turn of shooting. Yeah, I nearly wiped out an entire squad of assault intercessors, which was good, but then you were able to get in charge range, and then that was pretty much the end of that, actually.
Yeah, and I think your Overlord got very unlucky to get a micro charge and then failed to do any damage. I think that was probably the turning point.
It's true. I think perhaps actually my overall strategy just wasn't very good. For victory points, I could have actually held off until later in the game. There's no requirement to grab the victory points immediately, and because the Space Marines are an assault-orientated army, they don't actually want to be standing around holding objectives and being shot at, so what I should have probably done is either make you go first so that you would have come out into the open, or just not move my warriors so close to the front lines. But yes, it meant I got more shooting in, but it also meant that they got charged.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you'd have to basically just try and wipe out the Space Marines and then have enough turns remaining to get more victory points.
Yeah, and I didn't roll as well for reanimations as I have in some previous games, but I shouldn't rely on that as a way to win games.
Right. Yeah, and I think if your Overlord had made that charge and it had gone the same way, I probably would have just abandoned Objective 3 and then gone after the Immortals and just pretended the Overlord didn't exist.
Well, I was hoping to kill a large number of those remaining Assault Intercessors because he can do that. I was hoping to send him around the back and stay out of heroic intervention range of the Captain, but it just didn't quite happen that way.
Yeah, I don't think I really change any of my strategy. Basically, just keep all my units together to get the Captain's aura. Reuniting ones is pretty handy, and I can imagine you can see if you have a Lieutenant as well, all those extra ones you re-roll can make even Assault Intercessors, because they get so many attacks, it does make them even more efficient. And especially things like Aggressors as well, seeing as they only hit on 4s too.
Yeah, and going forward, as you might imagine, the bigger the armies, the more effective auras can be, because they apply to everything within range. So as a Space Marine army, you can have a Captain and a Lieutenant and a big blob of troops, and they all get to benefit, and it just improves the efficiency of everything. A bit less so for the Necrons, because their auras are a little bit more specialised. The auras that tend to affect all the units are not always such high impact. There was an occasion when my Immortals were outside of the range of the Overlord's Relentless March aura, which meant they didn't get the extra inch of movement, which might have actually been helpful in that instance, but broadly speaking, it's not quite the same.
It was also nice to have a character who'd be effective once. The Lieutenant obviously has been getting tired of having to fight all those battles, and Captain's come in to show how it's done. He was actually fairly competent for most of the game. I think he missed with his plasma pistol once, and that was it.
Yeah, and it's actually nice to have the Captain back again, because we haven't seen him for a very long time. I think in the story it's because he was...
Yeah, he was still on the Megaria, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we got lots of core rules, which I did skim over. Again, it's just useful to have transports, probably more useful than aircraft. Probably going to be making much more use of transports.
Yeah, and we're not going to see any of those rules in games purely from the magazine, unfortunately, but, well, Psychic Phase, obviously we will. But if you do branch out and you are looking to expand any of your armies, you'll probably find those rules useful.
Combat Patrol or Start Collecting Boxes tend to come with transports as well. So if you were looking at those, useful to have rules for transports.
But that, and they're obviously just trying to give us the entirety of what would be the core rules pamphlet, if you like, over the course of many issues, so just for completeness.
And a lot of and we got to finish off the set of the manufactorum. I mean, it's nice to have the complete set, another set of area terrain. I believe in the next issue we will be fighting on the other side of the board at last, so we can actually use both on the same mat. So there'll be plenty of terrain and cover to use.
Oh yeah, and that is a complete set of, I think it's called the Sub-Cloister and Storage Fane Ruins, which I think are £35 something, or maybe a bit more than that since the prices went up. So getting all of that for £18 is very good value.
Yeah, so I suppose if you want lots of ruined terrain, it's not too bad. Though I think this is the only way you could possibly build it. You might be able to fiddle around with the floors, but it does seem like this might be the only configuration for the two sprues, but you'd have to compare them. But otherwise, I don't think there's too much to say about this game or this issue, so as always, if you like this content, do leave a like and subscribe. We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.